KJ here. It's Friday. Man, I'm telling you what, if I haven't proven it to myself that time flies through these live streams, I just feel like it was just yesterday that we were having a fun Friday, right? Remember what we talked about? About how Fridays was going to be a little different, that I was going to try to become more disciplined. And we were going to discuss a case out of Australia. There's some busy people today. Hello, Grammy B, Nancy Bergbauer. Hello, how are y'all doing? I got out yesterday in our yard, and for the first time since we got them storms a couple of weeks ago, because I drug ass and I procrastinated, I got out and picked up all the sticks and all the debris out of the yard, mowed the grass, burned the limbs and everything else, got it all done. And I went to bed last night, and I had to take some Motrin because I was sore all over. And this morning, I feel okay, but I still feel a little bit sore. Good morning, Stephanie Willow, Elba Lopez, Benita Rainey. It is 68 degrees in Kansas City, says Benita. Well, it's a nice morning here. I'm not exactly sure. I'd say it's probably, looking on my thermometer there, it's about close to 70. Good morning, Ann Gibson. Good morning, Chris Arnett. Hello, Harley62. Well, I usually come a little bit early, Harley62, but I slept in this morning. Hello, Paula. So I did. I got my yard work done yesterday. Just Me says we're at 65 degrees. And Paula's saying good morning from Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's one place Wayne and I want to go. We want to go and visit Oklahoma. We've been out west a little bit. We've been to Wyoming. We've been to Montana. We've been to Idaho. We still have a few other places we want to go. Good morning, Julie Cole. Yeah, Harley62, it is a good thing that old KJ slept in, because I usually don't sleep good at all at night. I'm never in a deep REM sleep. So if I sleep in, that means sometime this morning I've gotten some of that. Grammy B says it's 81 in North Texas. Will be 109 degrees today. Good morning, CSI, Crowdsource Illuminations. So, like I told y'all, we were going to probably on Fridays try to make it a little more disciplined. I was going to really get with this crazy ass story out of Australia. I'm not going to go into it as depth. It's to kill time for us to continue down the road we're going, waiting on pre-trial or the trial itself of the Chinster there. Tina Reddington said, good morning, everybody. It's 78 and very, very smoky in Oregon. Yes, it would, Isabella. I brought it up to everyone on the channel last week about this Erin Patterson. And my biggest question is, obviously, is she guilty? Is she not guilty? I discussed with everyone media and how the media's organizations have once again blown things up, whether it's true or not, whether it deserves to have a light shined on it. I think everybody can learn from anything, and that if you're going to go out here and pick mushrooms, as a lot of people in Australia do, maybe there's some here in the United States. I know I like to pick mushrooms, but I'm very careful. Hello, Olive. Hello, Beach Lady. So, what's the latest? And we had a lot of questions on this Erin Patterson. So I've got the latest update. I'm going to read it into the record. Then we're going to talk a little bit, y'all. Investigators probing the deaths of 3 people after a poisonous mushroom meal say the leaking of Aaron Patterson's police statement has been unhelpful and has hampered detectives. Aaron Patterson, 48, cooked a beef Wellington lunch for her former in-laws, Gail and Don Patterson. Gail's sister, Heather Wilkinson, and her husband, Ian Wilkinson, and Leongatha on July the 29th. Gail, 70, Don, 70, and Heather, 66, have all since died from suspected mushroom poisoning, while Ian, who is 70 years old, remains in a serious condition in need of a liver transplant. Aaron originally gave a no comment interview to the police at the start of the investigation. But last week, y'all, she wrote a detailed account of what happened before, during, and after the fatal lunch and sent it to police, addressing several inconsistencies surrounding the incident. The statement soon leaked to the media. The mother of two said her initial decision to stonewall cops, the reason she stonewalled them was because it was a terrifying and anxiety-provoking experience. And I'm sure if she's innocent or whether she's guilty, either way it goes, the bottom line, I would say there would be anxiety. I think there would be terrifying prospects for Aaron Patterson, considering she is a person of interest. The question is why can't she just come right out? Because she goes on to explain things. If this is indeed true for her, then she should have immediately explained this to them instead of stonewalling them. Deputy Police Commissioner Wendy Stendam on Thursday said Aaron's statement may have hampered the investigation. Quote, "The matter needs to be dealt with by police, not the media." Ms. Stendam told ABC Radio Melbourne presenter Virginia Trolley. The deputy commissioner said Aaron's lengthy legal statement was widely circulated to the media before the police could examine it. Ms. Stendam said it was not an official police statement, but one taken by Aaron's lawyers. Let's stop there. She goes on, and I'll make it clear. She says she don't know how it leaked. Well, if her attorneys were the ones that made it up, it makes common sense that her attorneys were the ones that leaked it. And wonder why. What I would say is that working on an investigation through the media is unhelpful to our investigation, said the deputy commissioner. The matter needs to be dealt with by us, looked at by us, and determined by us thoroughly what actually occurred. And using the evidence that we have to determine and understand exactly what happened and if we can explain what caused the deaths. Now let's get to the statement. In her statement, Aaron denied any wrongdoing and did not know how the meal caused 3 deaths. Ms. Stendam said the investigation remains ongoing and says, I understand the interest and the desire to have more information about this, but given it's an active investigation, I am limited in what I actually can say about the matter, except to say it's not going to be quick. This needs to be investigated thoroughly. We're working with the health department, and we will take as much time as needed to understand what's occurred and whether or not there are matters that we need to further investigate. So what can OKJ take from that? Obviously, Aaron Patterson's leaked statement and basically explanation for things isn't going to do the trick. On Wednesday, Aaron protested her innocence and complained about her portrayal in the media. I lost my parent-in-law. My children lost their grandparents. And I've been painted as an evil witch. And the media is making it impossible for me to live in this town. I can't have friends over. The media is at the house where my children are at. The media are at my sister's house, so I can't go there. This is so unfair. Erin claims she bought the mushrooms, y'all, used in the beef Wellington from a supermarket and an Asian grocer shop in Melbourne, but she can't recall the name. And I don't think it's listed in here, but in other news reports, she said she had bought those mushrooms 3 months before the meal. So I have to stop and say, well, she couldn't have served them fresh, because she bought them. If this is truly indeed her story, they had to have been what I had researched, where they can take mushrooms, put them in a food dehydrator, dry them up, and then there's this process where they can make them into a powder, perhaps, or maybe they were just dried mushrooms. And if she bought the mushrooms 3 months ago, why wait 3 months later to use them? Did she not use them at all? And what was the reason for her not using them for 3 whole months? To top it all off, why not? Why not tell them who the Asian grocery store is? Why not tell them where you bought them? And why hasn't there been any other reports of anybody else in Australia getting sick off bad mushrooms, death cap mushrooms? Thank you, Ramona. Hello, 1979 ACR. Hello, Norma Guerrera. Good morning, Mike from Ohio. That's right, DD Sunshine. There has to be a motive. Does a motive need to be proven in a court of law in Australia? I don't know. I know here in the United States, a motive can be used to show a pattern, but it's not required in a criminal trial. Jurors do want to know what a motive is. Okay. So, after she says this, the Australian Mushroom Growers Association said it was impossible that a grower could produce poisonous fungi. Okay, so you can take that off. It's impossible. There's not going to be any accidental death cap mushrooms in all of these button cap mushrooms that we see on our store shelves. It's just not going to happen because they're in a controlled environment. They're not picked from the bottom of a tree or anything like that. They're in a controlled environment. And they have to go through quality tests and all of this other stuff. These people got to know what they're putting in the packages to put in the grocery stores, right? Baby Yoda the trucker says my cream of mushroom soup in cans is a couple of years old, but it's still good. Canned mushrooms, says Baby Yoda. Okay, so anyway, the only mushrooms you can be sure are safe and fresh are Australian-grown mushrooms bought from a trusted retailer. In her statement, Erin Patterson says, here it is, y'all. Put on your thinking caps. Lord knows I need to put mine on. She reveals that she became unwell after eating the meal and that while in the hospital, her ex-husband, Simon Patterson, accused her of poisoning her parents. Erin said she was discussing the food hydrator she used to prepare the meal when Mr. Patterson asked, "Is this what you used to poison them?" She admitted that she dumped the dehydrator at a nearby tip soon after because she was in a panic. Erin admitted lying to police about how long ago she disposed of the food hydrator. She initially told them she dumped it there a long time ago, but has now revealed she did so after her guests fell ill. She also said she was hospitalized with bad stomach pains and diarrhea after the meal, was put on a saline drip and given a liver protective drug. Now let's stop there. This woman has, in other reports as well, has explained that she made plates of these beef Wellington and she allowed her guests to pick up their plate, and she says that she picked up the last plate. She herself ate the beef Wellington. And yet she's only getting, and if it's true, again, if it's true, she got mild symptoms, but 3 of her guests are dead and 1 of them is fighting for his life. She just coincidentally got the plate that didn't make her that sick. She did go to the hospital, or did she? This is in her statement. Y'all know that she's just now coming out to say that she lied to police. So if she initially lied to police and it was, oh, I was afraid my kids were going to be taken from me and I got scared and panicked, that kind of sounds like makes human sense, that people get so terrified that they might lie. But folks, we're talking about 3 people dead and 1 fighting for his life. She absolutely has enough brain cells, I believe, to be able to just come out with it. How could that make her look guilty if she's being honest from the get-go and says, you know, these people are very ill and everything, police, and I got panicked and I wanted to throw this dehydrator away, but I didn't do it. We know she did, but let's just go down this for sake of argument. I didn't throw the dehydrator away because I really want to know what happened. Here's the food dehydrator. No, she throws it away. Gippsland Southern Health Service confirmed last Friday a 5th person who initially came to Leongatha Hospital on July 30th with symptoms of possible food poisoning, later returned and was transferred to Monash Medical Center in Melbourne. So, that's twice she's been to the hospital. But on July 30th, possible food poisoning, she goes home. She goes home, and actually, she serves the meal on July the 29th, and by the 30th, when she finds out that these people have gotten sicker in the hospital, she goes to the hospital. But folks, the day after the meal, she is confirming to the media that she served some of the beef Wellington to her children the next night, and that she scraped the mushrooms off because they don't like mushrooms. Her children were not at the original lunch. They were at the movies. This has been confirmed. But she goes on to say that her children had some leftovers of the beef Wellington. The timeline has to be established. When did she find out that those 4 in-laws of hers were all in the hospital sick? And if she didn't find out till the next day, then she served some of the beef Wellington to her kids before finding out? Or is she saying that she served some of the beef Wellington to the kids to make it look like, hey, if I was going to poison anybody, why am I serving this to my children? And then she goes on the next evening to go to the hospital for mild food poisoning. She doesn't stay in the hospital. Does she get a liver protective drug or put on a saline drip? I guess you have to say, why would she come out and say that unless it can be proven? Because she knows her shit's in trouble right now. Daily Mail Australia does not suggest that Erin tried to poison Simon or her 4 guests or is in any way responsible for their deaths. There's also no suggestion that the police suspect that she's involved in the deaths or poisonings, only that she is a person of interest. And if that's the case, and the Daily Mail, the media here that are widely reporting on this, are saying this, then why even put it out there in the first place? Why even, because they can say it in a sentence, but they're suggesting. They really are, just by their reporting. So why is the media blowing it up? Do they know something we do not know? If it all proves at the end of the day that she didn't do anything wrong, did the media expend all this time writing stories, trying to get at her at the house, do all the things that the media did for nothing? So she did, y'all. She ate the meal with her guests, but she didn't get sick until the next evening, or so that's how it's being reported. So overnight, her guests, which are a little bit older than her, whose immune systems might not be as good as hers, these people, these older people, they might have health conditions that Erin Patterson doesn't have, and maybe it took longer to make her have these mild symptoms. And then she confirms that her children ate the beef Wellington, but they scraped the mushrooms off. Does that mean because you scrape the mushrooms off that the juices or the flavors of that mushroom, the toxins, the poisons, don't get into the meat? I guess that all depends on whether it was garnished with it or whether it was baked with it. Julie Go says, the reason the media is doing this is because there's nothing much going on in Australia at the moment. Oh, Norma says, liar, liar, liar. Nancy Bergbauer says, pants on fire. Kathy Barilla says, this sounds like a story to me. I bet she didn't feed her kids no beef Wellington. Well, if she didn't, right, Kathy? If she didn't feed the beef Wellington, she'd have to get her kids on board to lie, right? And really, if she's going to explain, and I'm not trying to see her as guilty, I'm just got questions according to what the media is reporting here. It's a big freaking dang red flag to me that you're going to lie to police over stuff that could answer questions to help medical people. And I mean, she just stonewalled them at first. She wouldn't talk to anybody. She won't tell them to this day what Asian grocery store she got them from. In other reports, they talk about she got some button cap mushrooms from a grocery store, and that 3 months prior, she got these death cap mushrooms that she didn't know were bad from an Asian grocer. So, if she's willing to say that now, why couldn't she have said it back then? Why throw the food dehydrator away? Why not say, here it is? I can't believe it. I love my loved ones. We got to find out what happened here because I had no idea that these were bad mushrooms. Rachel Black says she could have made another batch for the kids and fed it to them as a cover. There's no way to really rely on her story that she fed the same food to her kids, says Rachel Black. And if it's been reported and she's confessed that she initially stonewalled and lied to police, folks, why would she do that? Why can't she just, if it's really as innocent as she says it is? And by the way, none of her children went to the hospital to be checked out. If she was so concerned, she herself went, but her children didn't go. You'd have to say, well, the reason she didn't take her children is because she knew she scraped the mushrooms off and they weren't showing symptoms, so she didn't bother sending them to the hospital. I mean, I don't give a damn if I found out that my in-laws were all dying and one of them's near death, or at least waiting on a liver transplant, and I myself am going to the hospital. Don't anyone think that the children themselves should have been admitted to the hospital. Because I don't care if they were showing symptoms or not. If I was in her position, I would definitely have my children checked out. Why weren't they given a liver a liver protective drug? Because somehow she and the medical field there believe, well, because the mushrooms wasn't on it, there's no way the toxins could get in the beef. Y'all, it don't make sense. Children wasn't at that lunch. They were at the movies. They were served with leftovers the next evening with mushrooms scraped off because they didn't like them. And to top it all off, it's been confirmed that she's turned over some of the leftovers themselves to police to test forensically. So she has still had some left over, folks. The bottom line is, this is what I think. And I'm not going toward that she's got to be guilty, but when you lie and you deceive and you stonewall, what track is someone going to go on? That she fixed the plates of beef Wellington. She garnished them with the death cap mushrooms. She herself picked up a plate. Maybe it didn't have them on there, or maybe she scraped them off. Maybe they weren't baked in with them. There was some left over, and she says she fed it to her kids. Again, this goes with the timeline. Overnight, because it takes 16 to 24 hours for the toxins to start attacking everything. Well, first of all, her organs aren't shutting down, and she's not dying. I had food poisoning in 1983, says DD Sunshine. I had crab meat stuffed in flounder. I was so sick, I went to the hospital. It was horrible. I don't eat crab meat anymore. No way. 1979 ACR says, I've never heard of death cap mushrooms. Well, 1979 ACR, I've looked it up. As I said before, they're not like exotic looking, so you can't, they can sometimes be compared to ones that are edible, but that gets me to the next thing, and I'm glad you brought it up, 1979 ACR. The mushroom cook behind the toxic beef Wellington that poisoned 4 people, leaving 3 of them dead, was an experienced fungi forager, according to a source close to the family. According to the Daily Mail Australia, Aaron Patterson was known to often and expertly, pick wild mushrooms around Victoria's Gippsland region. A friend of Patterson's family revealed Aaron was very good at foraging and at identifying different mushroom varieties. Quote, the Patterson family, including Aaron and her estranged husband Simon, would pick mushrooms each year when they were in season. It's very common for people to go mushroom picking around that area. So, am I saying that she picked these death cap mushrooms and made a mistake? Or she picked these death cap mushrooms because she knew they were toxic and was going to kill these people? And if she didn't pick them, and she's an expert forager, when she goes to get them out of the package, can't she look at them because she's an expert forager before using them in one of her recipes? Isabella Marie says her husband was put into induced coma for over a week. Tummy issues for months. Hospital never figured out why. No, he's an ex-hubby, but friends, she's a nut. Feeling she's been experimenting. Wow. Isabella. That's a good theory. Kathy Barilla says, but she says she bought them. Correct. It's not really the question of whether she picked them herself or not. If she's going to buy them, and she's going to take them out of the package and put them in a food dehydrator, she's going to look at them, right? She's going to look at them. But with that being said, if she's not telling everybody where these grocery stores are, she don't want to tell police, she doesn't want to tell everybody in her statement, you would think if she had no idea that these mushrooms were going to kill her family members there, she finally came clean and stuff, she would come out in her attorney's statement and say, I bought these at this Asian grocery store over here on this street over here, the name of the grocer. She wouldn't want other people to get sick, right? Just Me says, why would she buy them? Well, she says she bought button cap mushrooms, which are the most, I guess, widely known mushrooms that we buy at the store. And then she added some more of these Asian grocery store mushrooms in with it that she had purchased 3 months ago. I mean, it don't make sense to me, y'all. Tina Reddington said, did she buy them fresh or did she dehydrate them? Okay, Tina, I don't know much about this mushroom dehydrating stuff. I know, Tina, you had said in an earlier post that you love mushrooms and you use them in all kinds of recipes. So I posted on the community wall that sometimes, and this is just me out of my ignorance, all I can come up with on terms of just a small amount of research about it, that you can take mushrooms of a particular flavor that are edible to eat, that aren't going to make you sick, and you can dehydrate them. And then you can crush them down to a powder, almost like a seasoning. If that's the case, and that's what she used the death cap mushrooms for, made them into a powder, could the powder have been put in with the beef Wellington, and then the button cap mushrooms are garnished with it? Because I have been looking up recipes, and guess what, y'all? Guess what? OKJ's putting out a community post. I'm going to ask the Rays on here, does anybody have a good beef Wellington pie recipe that's not too hard to do? And I'm going to shoot a video. I'll make beef Wellington pie, believe it or not. OKJ's going to do it for the first time. And it's not about a cooking video. It's about the process of that and what a person has to think about as they go through this process of making a beef Wellington pie. Yes, KJ's going to try it out. I'm going to see. But I'm going to put on the community wall because some of y'all are from Australia. Some of y'all are from different continents and countries. And even here in the United States, you might make beef Wellington pie. So I'm going to absolutely put that on the community wall. And because I want to get an idea. I want to take all these recipes and say, what are similar about them? Because we'll never know her method of her recipe. But if we can get some idea of, well, this has to be done. This is how you usually do it when you're using mushrooms. And these steps here, then I'm going to be able to really kind of get an idea, basically. I use powdered mushrooms in soup because I like the taste, but not the texture of boiled mushrooms, says Tina Reddington. Oh, I'm definitely Debbie Bukes when you say mushroom is store-bought. When I do this recipe, I'm definitely not going to be using death cap mushrooms, okay? I'm going to make sure that it's from an accredited retailer. I know my mushrooms, even if I did use some mushrooms out here in my yard. I mean, I've done it before. I know exactly. If I have just one little question, if something doesn't seem right, I just don't eat it. But if I know for sure, and I've never gotten sick on any of the mushrooms that I have foraged. So I don't know. Maybe I've been getting lucky. Maybe I'm playing Russian roulette, right? Dee Dee says, don't invite your in-laws. Well, Dee Dee, I can't invite my in-laws because they're all passed. Wayne and I, both sets of our parents are passed away. But I get you. Death caps have a very distinctive look. If she was a mushroom forager, she would know, says Tina Reddington. FSSANZ, and I don't know who that is, Rachel, but coordinates and monitors food recalls in Australia, in New Zealand. Food recalls are coordinated by the Ministry for Primary Industries, so there would definitely be a recall. Great point, Rachel, and thank you for the extra information. We've seen nothing on the news that people should not be buying mushrooms at a grocery store or an Asian grocery store. And again, y'all, she won't tell them exactly where she got them. Tina says, boiled mushrooms are like chewing on rubber. Good morning, Kathy, Mama Bear. Good morning, Cosette Campbell. So these are some interesting things, and it really comes back to credibility. And credibility over a serious issue is that she has just made it perfectly clear that she loves her in-laws, that her mother-in-law was like a mother to her, and she's just praying that Ian would be okay, and how this has devastated her and her children. You would think off the get-go, she would have immediately just said, yes, here's the dehydrator. Here's the, this is where exactly I got them from. Why would a statement written up by her attorneys be leaked to the media? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out. Especially when you have law enforcement in Australia coming out and saying this is not good. This should not be put out here in the media. This is not an official police report. Why not have an official police report, Aaron Patterson? Why not if you're so interested? Why can't you go in there and sit down with them? Tell them exactly what your attorneys just leaked to the media. If you bought them, why toss the dehydrator? Great point there. Can't remember where you got them, says Jennifer. I think she says there was 2 types of mushrooms used, y'all. And unless I know the recipe 100%, and I'm assuming that if this goes further and there's a final report with the police, that we're going to find out how she prepared them. Obviously, all she had to do was sit these plates out of beef Wellington, and as people picked up their plate, she could have grabbed a spoonful of the garnished mushrooms and put them on the plate. I'm not saying that's what happened, but how does this woman go and just get diarrhea? And she's waited a long period of time since she's ate it. So whatever's going to happen to her, she was not hospitalized, like she's not waiting on a liver transplant. Perhaps the hospital gave her the liver protecting stuff there and the drip because they found out about the other people, and they're like, well, she's got a little diarrhea, but she's not as bad as these others, but we just want to be on the safe side. That doesn't mean they were treating her for the same shit that killed these other people. And again, why not bring your children too? Why aren't the children's being put on liver protecting stuff and a drip? She can say all she wants that the mushrooms were scraped off, but folks, any amount of mushrooms, if it was a garnish, they're on there, and she scrapes them off, she gives that to them, she has some left over, she's supposedly given that to the police to do forensic testing on. It all comes down to timeline, y'all. And we're talking about the overnight hours into the next day. When did her children supposedly eat the beef Wellington where she scraped the mushrooms off? And was that before she herself went to the hospital? When did she find out that these in-laws were in the hospital? Hi, Stephanie B. Jennifer Esslinger says the reason it doesn't make sense is because it is a false narrative. So this goes back to what one of you said about motive. Why would she want to do this? Why would she want to take out her in-laws and believe that she was not going to be looked at, even though it is quite highly suspicious that 3 people are dead and 1 is fighting for his life? Would she not think for a second that law enforcement would be like, who cooked it? And it would lead back to her. That's where I'm like, my common sense is really at this place where it's like, she had to have known that if she was wanting to murder them, right? That somehow she was going to be looked at. Kathy Barilla says these death cap mushrooms are supposed to be very poisonous, even to the touch. Olive says probably just revenge from not wanting hubby to go back to her. What do the children say? I think one of them is 12 and one is 16, so they're not little children. All I know is this, y'all. From the get-go, I couldn't say, oh, I know what that would be like, and I'm going to armchair quarterback this. I'm sure if this woman is innocent, it devastated the hell out of her, probably shocked her. I mean, one report says when police came over the day after and explained to her that these people had died or whatever, that she was wailing and crying. Immediately, though, she should have sat down with the police and talked to them. If she was completely innocent, then why not? She told the police right there from the get-go, no comment. Now, some of y'all who's got the legal eagle mind say, well, that's really, everybody should do that. Everybody should really be careful, even if they're innocent. You should immediately get an attorney. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. Not because, I would want to cooperate with the police, but I would bring an attorney in there with them and answer their questions. But she didn't do that. She stonewalled them. She did get legal representation. This legal representation is a statement from her attorneys that somehow got leaked to the media. You would have to believe that her attorneys didn't know how it got leaked. It's clear, y'all. Her attorneys leaked it. They're playing damage control here. They're trying to appease the media organizations. They're trying to fill in the blanks with these people. But I'll tell you, if in fact she's lied and just come up with these excuses, it's all going to come out in the wash. Ann Gibson says it's a puzzle. I keep going back to where did she get them? I would remember. I definitely would, Ann. Knowing that there are people out here that have died because I cooked something that was toxic and poisonous to them, and the fact that there are no recalls anywhere. Y'all, if you take the totality of everything that's been said thus far, she couldn't have got them at an Asian grocery store or a grocery store. The Association of Mushroom Growers in Australia says it's impossible. It's not like it was one bad batch. And she just so happened to be in the middle of this estrangement with her husband. The hell? I rubbed it up against the table. Do they have the same kind of mushrooms there that we have here, says Tom Baum. That is not a stupid question, Tom Baum. I know they've got button cap mushrooms, which I use. I believe that Australia probably has different varieties that maybe we don't have, perhaps. It's a good possibility because it's a different environment. There's different kinds of vegetation. Y'all know that mushrooms usually come up through dead roots. The fungi comes from tree roots and trees, and so that's a great possibility, Tom Vaughn, that these were different mushrooms. Is there death cap mushrooms in the United States? Yes. Again, a friend of the family, y'all, says that she was an expert forager. That in fact, when you hear that in the news report, that this friend says that Erin and her husband at the time, Simon, and their family used to go mushroom foraging, those are witnesses, y'all. Simon Patterson is not only a witness to what happened to him the year before when he got sick, but he also can testify, if in fact it goes that far, that Erin knew exactly what she was doing, because these are the dates. These are other people that are going on the stand too, that are telling you we were all together foraging for mushrooms. Tina says they probably have mostly the same kind, Tom, but mushrooms do grow in particular environments. Right, Isabella Marie. Hubby pulled out of the lunch an hour before, last minute. I guess the question is if she's at the hospital and she's saying in her statement that Simon told her, is that what you poisoned them with? When she's sitting there talking in the hospital, according to her, about this food dehydrator, why even bring that up? If she didn't know what had killed them, why even bring that up? But maybe she brought up the food dehydrator and was talking about it before Simon said, is that what you poisoned them with? After she found out that they were death cap mushrooms. I really don't understand why people get to this place at the beginning of these terrible, tragic things and just right off the bat want to stonewall and lie. Why can't, especially over something as tragic and something that could affect other people out here in the world? If she was finding out that it was the death cap mushroom, she should have immediately, even if she didn't know, maybe she was like, I don't know if it's the mushrooms, I don't know if it's the meat, I don't know if it's the pot pie crust around it, I don't know what it could have been. She would have been racking her brain to try to figure it out, not just to prove her innocence, but to help other people in case something happened. Ann Gibson says, ask yourself this. Would your husband or partner ask the question, what did you poison them with? Does he think she's capable? Those are good questions. Susan Purdy says, anyone else see the picture of a carpenter took on a wall in her house a couple of years ago of what they are calling the death wall? Little drawings she made. That's interesting that you would bring that up, Susan Purdy. I did. I've been keeping up with all news media stuff on it just to kind of see where it's leading. And for those that don't know what Susan's saying, you can go type in Erin Patterson, death wall. The house that she sold, it's weird. On the white sheetrock wall, you've got all this kind of weird stuff like death and decapitated heads, and it's all in marker. And I don't know if her children are playing a game and doing that, whether that was Erin herself. I don't know. But she asked some guy who she was getting the house ready to sell, told him to paint over it and everything, and there's pictures of it. And I looked at them and I zoomed in on a lot of them, and I'm like, what the hell were they doing? Why are they, what is this, what time frame? It's like, 3 years ago? Is this woman a psychopath, or her children the ones doing this? And if her children are doing it, why show all this death and decapitated heads and he's gonna die and all this other stuff? Check it out. Look at it for yourself. Is it something like a puffed piece there by the media to keep people interested? Is it really some kind of innocent explanation for it? It don't look good. It makes her look like a freak. If she ain't done it and her kids have done it, what the hell? Why are they doing that? We're talking about a whole wall with different markers, not just one kind of marker. And it's almost like I'm taking it like maybe it's a game they're playing. Someone will write something, and then maybe someone else will write something later, or something. It's really, really strange, y'all. So, I'm seeing how the media is covering this. And in every single article, they always say, we do not suggest that Erin tried to poison Simon or her four guests or is in any way responsible for their deaths. There is also no suggestion that police suspect that she was involved in the deaths or poisons, only that she is a person of interest. And yet you have all this reporting. Some of it's like, this is what she said. You decide what you think of it. And this goes back to, why does old KJ, whenever the media shines a big light on something, why is it that I immediately want to go to, she's guilty? Well, at this point, because her statement has been leaked from her attorneys, and she says she has lied to police, and she says that her children ate the beef Wellington, but she scraped the mushrooms off. Did she scrape the mushrooms off simply because they didn't like mushrooms? Or did she scrape the mushrooms off because they don't like them? Or were the mushrooms on there to begin with because the day before she could have put the mushrooms on the plate as garnishment for her guests? And I'm just telling you, I don't know how anyone can say, I just got diarrhea and mild case of stuff. I never stayed in the hospital. Never had anything further wrong with them. Even though she says that she ate her own plate of it, which I'm assuming had the mushrooms on it. Could she have built up immunity to them? Could she have just ate a few of the mushrooms and it just really didn't do a whole lot to her? I mean, if that's the case, her in-laws must have ate the shit out of those mushrooms to get all of that shot. I mean, just shoot down your whole liver, your kidneys. Norma Guerrero, all you have to do is type in your search engine, Erin Patterson death wall. And I'll post it on the community wall when I get off here. Some of y'all are going to take a look at that, and y'all are going to be like, I kind of understand what's going on here. Some of y'all are going to be like, what the heck? Isabella Marie says, I think she was making hubby sick 12 months before. The divorce is fresh, 6 months, taking out a family line. Hope Grace says, who disclosed that they were death caps? The hospital. The hospital said it was death cap mushroom poisoning. Let me be clear, they haven't come out, the police have not come out to say what are the results of forensic tests on the food dehydrator. They haven't come out to say the results of what they have confirmed, that she gave them some of the rest of the beef Wellington to test. She has confirmed that she does not know exactly where she got the mushrooms. We have found out that someone from the family says more than one person witnessed her foraging mushrooms and was an expert in it. Ann Gibson says that she saw the death wall of Erin Patterson's old residence and says that she thought that looking at it, someone needs therapy. Again, I don't know if it was Erin who did it or her children who did it or all three of them that did it. But it was there. And the guy took a picture of it before he painted over it. Kathy Barilla says, I suspect she'll be charged. 3 people are dead. Police are getting ducks in a row. Well, Kathy, what would she be charged with? First degree premeditated murder? Or second degree? Or not premeditated, but manslaughter? You know, somebody's got to pay the price for their irresponsibility in all this. If, in fact, it can be proven she was irresponsible and just not evil and wicked, right? The police are still waiting for toxicology reports to come back, says Julie Cole. Ann Gibson, great question. That's what, when I initially talked to y'all about this last Friday, because we're going to try to do Friday fun. It's not fun, but it's different. It's more disciplined, I guess. Why did they split up? Because they say they split up soon after he was recovering from his mysterious illness. Another question, Kathy Barilla brings it up as well, that I've had is, how did her parents die? She inherited a beach house, a really nice one in Australia. She sold that. She was able to get more properties. Kathy, Mama Bear says, in my opinion, allegedly this was planned and not her first try. Well, if this was planned, Kathy Mama Bear, and she'd been experimenting with her husband the year before he left her, and they never figured out that it was mushroom poisoning, how were they able to figure it out this time? And they weren't able to figure it out last time. And maybe he had his suspicions that she fed him and he got sick and ended up having to be put in a self-induced coma and all these things, and then he left her. And when she decided to invite the in-laws this year, he did not show up because he didn't want to eat anything she was putting out there. But wouldn't he have warned them? Krisha K says, hi, everyone. A lovely raise. Me and Jason love you. I haven't been feeling good at all lately, so I'm not really with it right now. Just saying I love y'all. Well, we love you too, Krisha. Forever and always. Nothing will ever change in my heart. For you, Jason K, Larry, I love y'all. You know it's true. You know the deal. Harley62 says, Krisha, take it easy. Nicole says, hi, Krisha. Hope you get to feeling better. 1979 ACR says, good morning, Krisha. Leanne Forsberg is giving you a bunch of love there. CSI Crowdsource Elimination says, get better soon, Krisha. Julie Cole says, money is the root of this problem. And it usually is, Julie. And I got hung up on, okay, so she knew. This is just hypothesis and theory, y'all. This is the alleged, right? She knew she was going to bring that over. She was going to put the plates out. She was going to slice off the beef Wellington, put it in each plate. As the person took the plate, maybe she garnished it with mushrooms. But she also, did she really know that Simon was going to show up or not show up? I think in her heart of hearts, she knew he wouldn't be there. We haven't heard much from him since all this, have we? I mean, we did hear initially that he thinks that she poisoned him last year, that this could be the reason he got sick the year before. But we haven't heard anything else from him. Krisha, you need a trip to unwind, says Ann Gibson. And my door is always open, Cresha and Jason. Here in Tennessee, I made it very clear. Anytime you'd like to come. Jennifer Esslinger says, sending you energy for healing and feeling good vibes. Everything is connected. Lean on us. Paula says, Cresha, take care of yourself. Kathy Mama Bear says, feel better soon, Cresha. Love there no matter what. I guess, Susan Purdy, when you say maybe Simon not showing was the deciding factor of her deciding just to go ahead and go through with it. How do you take that leap, y'all? You're in the hospital. It's been confirmed that Simon says something to her after she's talking about, out of the clear blue yonder, the food dehydrator. And just out of the clear blue yonder, Simon could have thought anything he wanted to think, but he says, is that what you used to poison them with? Why would he go there? And why would she be in the hospital talking about the food dehydrator in the first place that so happened to end up in a garbage dump that she lied to the police initially because she said she was scared and panicked and afraid of losing her kids? She stonewalls police. She doesn't want to tell them what happened. You've got this situation where other people's lives are in danger because if she indeed got it at the grocery store, other people could end up in the hospital dying themselves, and yet she's stonewalling police. Y'all, it's not looking good for me. And I thought when I initially saw this, I thought, could this be a case that I could prove a point that media influence can blow something up and the person could actually be ending up innocent? Because it's very rare, y'all, that when media get involved in something like this, and I mean, they're reporting it. You can go get article after article. It ain't just news media from Australia. This is going on all over the world. What do they know that we don't? Or maybe they know she's innocent, but they're bringing this out here to get everybody hypervigilant so that people will understand that mushroom picking can cause death. And this is the media influence's whole objective, is to make sure that people understand that mushrooms can kill you. I posted on the community wall a vid, and I highly recommend Simcast, who did a video on this and made the statement, I'm never eating mushrooms again. Unless it's someone in my family or something like that. Well, Aaron Patterson was family members with these people. But Simcast says, I'm not eating mushrooms anymore. Well, I'm going to tell y'all what, I'm going to eat the shit out of mushrooms. Because I'm going to know what mushrooms I'm eating. I'm going to put them on my pizza. I'm going to eat cream of mushroom. I'm going to have mushrooms from in my yard. I'm going to have them from the grocery store. I'm not going to allow what has happened here, to make me stop loving mushrooms, but I am going to be very careful since hearing this story. Harley62's making a great point. I paid for my dehydrator. It was nearly $900, y'all. I'd be crazy to throw it out. And last Friday, and please forgive me because you know who you are, said, maybe once you use that food dehydrator on toxic and poisonous mushrooms, and you find out, oh my God, they're toxic and poisonous, the resins or whatever ruins the dehydrator. Or maybe the dehydrator can be cleaned. You know, all these questions that come out. If we take her at face value and she says, I threw the dehydrator out because I was So afraid I'd lose my kids. What is she accepting about the fact that she's going to take that action? That her putting mushrooms in a food dehydrator killed these people? And so she's got to hide that? Could the dehydrator be connected to whether or not she actually got the mushrooms 3 months prior? How were the mushrooms prepared? She won't say. She says where she got the mushrooms, but won't be specific. There are no recalls. The Mushroom Association of Australia there saying it's impossible for anybody to get, death cap mushrooms like that in a grocery store. Julie Coe says, I love my mushies. Ann Gibson says, I love mushrooms, not the crazy ones that make me see things. I've never tried those. I was watching an episode of Dr. Phil where he was talking about, it was Moms for Mushrooms. I'm sure some of y'all know what I'm talking about. You can look it up. Where they went on stage and said that this microdosing of these types of mushrooms just helps them feel better. It doesn't make them high or anything like that. Then you have another side of the issue where these people are saying, don't do it. There's not enough research. Isabella Marie says, I got my dehydrator from Kmart, $60. Makes dog jerky. I love the high-end one. Moonlight View's making me hungry. Saute in butter and garlic. Saute, add wine and crusty bread. Yes. Oh, that sounds good. Moonlight View. Rachel Black says, I do wonder if the media gets involved more than the person of interest hasn't been detained in a case that seems so suspicious and they are trying to pressure the investigation to continue. Well, Rachel Black, they come right out. The last that we've heard, the media came out with law enforcement. Law enforcement says this might cause problems for the investigation since this statement was leaked. Erin Patterson says she don't know how it got leaked. Well, it had to be from her attorneys. So are her attorneys keeping that from her? Or does Erin and her attorneys know that it was leaked? Or did Erin herself leak it without letting her attorneys know? It's one of the three. Because it didn't come from anywhere else. It wasn't turned into law enforcement as a police statement. They've confirmed that. Julie Coe says every action from this woman is suspect. Susan Purdy says, I think shrooms are legal in Colorado or somewhere now. I haven't ever tried them either. I'm paranoid enough. So, that's the latest, y'all. Again, her children were not taken to the hospital, although she says she scraped the mushrooms off because they didn't like it. It will all come down to that moment when she got the phone call that said they're dead or they're in the hospital. From that moment when she got that call, and were they at the time when she got the call, were they saying to her, this is death cap mushroom poison, or we're not sure yet what it was that they all got sick from? From that time she received the call, she went on to give her children leftovers, scraping off the mushrooms, and then she ends up going to the hospital the next night for diarrhea. She isn't in the hospital suffering from all this other stuff. That she ain't dead. The children are not sick. Yes, Ann Gibson, I think that the police are putting it all together on the timeline. Is it going to prove she's guilty? Perhaps. Or maybe it will prove her innocence. Of course, I'm assuming Australia is kind of like United States. You're innocent until proven guilty. Or maybe it's just a totally different process. That's something I haven't researched yet. But one thing's for damn sure, There is no reason at all, y'all, why she couldn't have immediately said, here's the food dehydrator. She gives over the leftovers of the beef Wellington for forensics. Instead, she throws that away. And I think maybe the reason she did that wasn't that she was panicked, because it was going to lead back to her anyway. I think she didn't want the police to know that she dehydrated these mushrooms. That she dehydrated the mushrooms. If there is no dehydrator, then she can say she got them 3 months ago at a Asian grocer. I don't know, y'all. It'll all make sense as it goes on. There were a lot of things that didn't make sense to me in this Chad and Lori Daybell case. And when Lolo's trial happened and we got to fill in some of the blanks, even though some of it was a crock of shit, kid gloving these state's witnesses, who all of them should be in jail now. The bottom line is that we're going to find out exactly what the police think. Even if that means the police come out and say, we've done our investigation, we have concluded that this was all a terrible accident, or we are charging her with first-degree premeditated murder, or we're going to get her for manslaughter. Beach Lady said, if I'd killed someone with food I cooked by accident, I've said, just take me to jail because I couldn't live with myself. Well, Beach Lady, it comes down to your mens rea, the way you're thinking at the time of doing it. And at the time of you doing it, Beach Lady, it wouldn't have been your objective to hurt anyone. That is something that the police have to look at all of the evidence. I'm sure they're going to look through her computers, her phones. They're going to see the situation through the eyes of her estranged husband, through the medical staff at the hospital, the way she was behaving at the hospital. And folks, you can look it up. One of the victims, and they don't specify, it was almost something I forgot, y'all. In one of the reports of this case, one of the victims who was being taken out by ambulance from their home after they got really sick made some statements that the ambulance driver felt like needed to be said to law enforcement. But they won't tell us what those statements are. So what could they have been? Could they have been, and who was it? Was it one of the dead people? Was it the ones who eventually would die? Or would it be Ian, who's fighting for his life, waiting for a liver transplant? Could they have said, I knew something was off. I knew, I feel like she poisoned me. Or could they have said something that they wasn't saying anything about her, but now looks very suspicious? Could it be that they explained to the ambulance that, well, she garnished all our plates with mushrooms, but she herself picked up the last plate and didn't put any mushrooms on her plate? Something seemed important enough to the ambulance driver as he was loading in one of the victims that eventually died, who said something and they went and reported it to law enforcement. Sheila Forrest, we're talking about Erin Patterson out of Australia. You can look it up. I posted a few things on the community wall. She served a beef Wellington pie to 4 of her in-laws. 3 of them are dead. One of them's fighting for his life. And think about what he has to say. He's going to be able to fill in the blanks on her behavior that day. He's going to be able, hopefully, to remember how the dish was served, what she was saying, how she was behaving, whether she ate it. It just does not look good at all to lie. It doesn't look good to stonewall such a serious situation where other people besides the victims could be out here going to the Asian grocery store. It just seems like she just absolutely thinks, if she is guilty, y'all, that they're never going to be able to put a case together Because she can always say how, I didn't know. They're going to have to show in their evidence collection that she did know. Circumstantial evidence doesn't say 100% that she knew exactly. She texted something like, I'm going to kill my in-laws. Direct evidence. Well, there's direct evidence that she threw a food dehydrator away and lied about it. There's direct evidence of that. What does that mean? It's all circumstantial at this point from what we're hearing. And circumstantial evidence can convict people. You don't have to have a picture of her in her kitchen saying out, or a video saying, I'm putting these mushrooms on my in-laws' stuff so that they'll die. Doesn't have, it's very rare that when someone does harm to someone else on purpose, that you're going to catch them in the act. That's why you have to have circumstantial evidence. Hey, Carrie Ann. That's a great point, X-Files. If she was treated, now she didn't stay in the hospital, but if she was treated like she says, they would have done toxicology on her. And what's going to happen when they find out that her diarrhea or her mild symptoms is just her having anxiety and shock, and it's really not got anything to do with what she ate, because they can't find anything in her system of death cap mushrooms. And yet she's telling police she ate the same meal. That's going to be an eye-opener. You just are not going to be able to, in a situation like this, which I've never heard, you're not going to be able to fill in the blank of something that can be proven factually that shows that she didn't know. Yes, great point, Ann Gibson. There was a time when we first opened the channel. Remember when we thought it may be possible that Lori had the kids hiding them somewhere? Remember that? I mean, some of y'all were right off the bat, they're dead. And I get it. But until the mosaic is put into place, until people get a little bit of justice through understanding in any case, or with anything going on in the judicial world, different countries or whatever, you're kind of left with your theories and your hypotheses. And should I give more weight to the negative aspects of it by saying, well, I'm going to look through my own lens of this whole situation now that I know that she lied to police about the dehydrator? I'm not going to give her the benefit of the doubt anymore, because she foundationally started off lying. She could have helped people if, in fact, she was innocent and thought that it was just a mistake from some mushrooms she got. Well, other people could have had the same thing happen to them. She could have saved lives that way, too. And this leaking of a statement trying to explain herself, that does not look good, and even law enforcement confirms that it's not good. The deputy police commissioner says this matter needs to be dealt with by the police, not the media. But that's exactly how Erin Patterson and her attorneys want to play this. They have not given a police statement yet. They're giving a statement from her attorneys. And she's saying, I don't know how it got leaked. The deputy commissioner said Erin's lengthy legal statement was widely circulated to the media before the police could examine it. So let's just stop there for a minute. Why not go to the agency that is investigating this first and foremost? Because they're going to have the leg work and everything if it does need to be a recall out here. if there has to be something done, they would immediately go to the law enforcement first. That's not what they did. Is this the media's fault? Because when it all came out initially, they showed up on her doorstep. She's standing there. She's acting like she's crying with not a tear out of her eye. And at some point, she's saying, y'all leave me the hell alone. And this crap, my friends don't want to be a part of it. We all know that when an investigation is going on, that the police can't give out a bunch of information. They've made it very clear that they're on the up and up in their investigation. But now they've got this bomb, this Molotov cocktail, a bomb thrown in there, metaphorically speaking, of a legal statement that somehow got leaked out to the media before the police could even look at it. Nobody, Ann, is telling us in this. It says last week she wrote a detailed account of what happened before, during, and after the fatal lunch, and sent it to police, addressing several inconsistencies surrounding the incident. That statement soon leaked to the media. So why are they saying in one thing that she sent it to police, but that's not the same thing as having a sit down with the police? I guess that's the distinction. She won't sit down with the police, obviously, or she wouldn't have sent that statement. Why not? If she's got her attorney there. She says that her initial decision to stonewall cops, her decision to stonewall them was because she was terrified and she had a lot of anxiety-provoking experiences. But the deputy police commissioner says that Aaron's statement may have hampered the investigation. Because if indeed, and it's confirmed that it was sent to police last week, then why is it being leaked out now? The police would have never leaked it out. That's not how investigations work. So it had to have been her or her attorneys that leaked it out. Common sense, Beach Lady. There is no chance she bought the only bad batch of mushrooms in the area. Great point, Beach Lady. So I guess we're going to continue to kind of look at this thing and see how it plays out on Fridays. I hope everyone has a great weekend. I'm glad that y'all were all here with me today. I love you all. I hope you have a great weekend. Maybe KJ will post some pics of the weekend, things that I might get into, or I might even throw in some weird-ass video that I get a wild hair and decide to post. Who knows? But all in all, the question still remains, why did these people die? Why did she not go to police initially and tell them the truth? Why did she lie to them? I try to see things with human nature. Maybe it really threw her for a loop. I will post on the community wall the media's interest in the death wall in Aaron Patterson's old house, just so y'all can get an idea of how the media operates and why this is. Maybe this is their way of getting down to it. They want to know what's going on. What's interesting, though, is there is nothing in any of these media reports where the media is saying, you got to be careful because we're not exactly sure whether she's telling the truth or not about getting them at a grocery store. So, citizens of Australia, be wary. They're not doing that. All they're saying is that the Mushroom Association is saying it's impossible. So, where's the media going with all this? We're going to find out, y'all. Absolutely going to find out. So, have a great weekend, everybody. Thank y'all for just allowing me to come up with this stuff is interesting. I appreciate all your comments on it. Kathy Mama Bear says, have a fantastic weekend, y'all. Glad I woke up in time to see most of this. And thank y'all all for helping OKJ bounce these things off of this brain of mine. Think, right? I love you all. Have a great weekend. And keep on looking.